Well, good morning everybody. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm out at a preserve that I'm actually working on a project at, and I was here yesterday as kind of a scouting trip, if you will, to see what's around. I haven't been here for a couple months now, so I wanted to come out ahead of time and kind of get a sense of what wildlife is actually around, where they're hanging out, and see what good spots there are to photograph them. So I was here yesterday all day. I found a couple good spots. I kind of took some notes where wildlife was, and so this morning I'm headed up to a pond first thing. I saw a lot of different bird species up there. There was a kingfisher that was fishing. There was a whole bunch of cedar waxwings, some kingbirds, some phoebes, as well as yellow warblers and all sorts of things up there. So I'm going to head up there first. Hopefully the light will be not too harsh so I can get some good pictures up there. And then from there I'm going to head down back into the forest. I found a good spot where I actually ended up sneaking up on a coyote, and I heard two barred owls calling in the forest as well. So I'm going to do that later on today and see if I can have any luck in that area. So let's head up to the pond and see what we can get. I was here yesterday and there's a couple of birdhouses in this field, and there's a pair of house wrens that are nesting in one of the birdhouses, and I just came past it and the wrens are still calling. They're still in the area, so I'm going to see if I can get a picture of them. They're perched on these little branches kind of around the nest, so I'm going to see. There's one right where it was yesterday. The nice thing about coming the day before and kind of get an idea of where things are, because a lot of times birds use the same perches, especially ones where they have their nest nearby, and this was the case today. There's one wren went into the house and the other wren was kind of sitting outside. It just flew now, but it's exactly where it was the other day. Alright, I'm set up in my spot. I am actually on a section where the beaver come out of the water, so it's a little bit lower down to the water. There's some steep banks that come down to the pond, so it's kind of hard to get exactly water level. So I'm still about 3 feet or so off the water, but it's still a good spot. wood duck just flew over, and there was a kingbird that was just foraging over the surface of the pond, and there's some phoebes as well flying around. There's also some cedar waxwings, you can hear them up above, and so yeah, it's good. There's beautiful pickerel weed that's just about to bloom in the pond. It's a beautiful purple flower. There's all sorts of bees and pollinators around them, and I actually saw a hummingbird coming to them yesterday as well, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for that. And now I'm just going to sit here and wait for the birds to come. Well, a female kingfisher came back to the pond, but she's all the way on the far side of the pond right now, perched up in a dead tree, and she successfully caught at least one fish. So I'm just hoping that she'll come a little bit farther on this pond. I know that there's a limb hanging off of the beaver lodge that is a good perch that they've perched on before, so I'm hoping that they'll perch on that, because I'm directly across from that. But in the meantime, there was a pair of song sparrows that were eating some blueberries off a high bush blueberry that is just to my left, so got a couple videos of that, and just still waiting, hoping. There was one kingbird that came over and it foraged for a short amount of time, but I think the problem is I was up here later yesterday and there was a lot more insects flying because the sun was out and warmed up the pond a little bit more, and right now it's still mostly in the shade, so there's not that much insect activity. So I think that as in maybe a couple hours, an hour or two, when the sun comes over the trees, it'll warm things up and there'll be a lot more insect activity for hopefully the kingbirds to come back and forage. But right now I'm just waiting for the kingfisher hopefully to come over on this side of the pond. The kingfisher flew over and landed on top of the beaver lodge. I got a couple short videos of it and some photos. It's definitely not the best background, and I really wish that it had come over earlier when the light wasn't so bright, but nonetheless it actually came over, and it actually sat there and didn't seem to mind me, so it's a good sign. Alright, from right around the banks from me there's a dead hemlock tree, and there's a small flocks of cedar waxwings that are flying and perching on the tree, and then from the perch they fly out, catch insects, and then come back. So I'm going to move over a little bit that way and then set up and just sit there and wait, and hopefully they'll come back and perch on that tree. This is really nice. Such an awesome bird. There's such smooth feathers, and probably some of the best pictures I've gotten of this species before. They don't seem to mind that I'm here, and they're just keep coming back, and they're just kind of circling the whole the pond, and they kind of moved over to the far side now. So I'm just going to pack up and actually kind of try heading that way. There hasn't been much activity in this area since, obviously, except for the Cedar Waxwings. The Kingfisher flew to the backside of the marsh, so I'm going to circle around that way and see if I can get any pictures from that side. Well, I made it around the marsh, and I was sitting there for a little while, and there wasn't that much activity. There's a lot of vegetation around this section of the pond, so there's not much room for perches for birds or for really any great views. So I'm going to actually continue around and skirt around. This kind of goes along the marsh this way, so I'm going to see if maybe there's any openings this way that I can get some better angles on some things. Kind of came through a really nice forest that had a stream kind of comes down and fills up the pond. There's some big boulders where the water's flowing down, and then it was all mountain laurel, and then it just kind of opened up to these ferns, and it kind of is a little bit open this way as well. So I'm just going to keep going through this way and see what we can find. There's a beautiful red-shouldered hawk that is calling, and it actually flew and perched like, I don't know, let's see, 30 yards away from me. It was through a bunch of hemlock, so it wasn't a very clean view, but it just flew probably about 70 yards away into the forest a little bit more. So I'm gonna go, if I move a little bit in front of me, I might have a more clear shot. So I'm just gonna move up and then sit, and hopefully it comes back and perches again in the open. That was awesome. The hawk flew over straight towards me on 2 occasions, and that time it perched and it was actually pretty much in the open. It was just in full sun, so I'm pretty sure some of the highlights got blown out on it, but it is awesome when a bird of prey comes and actually comes over towards you. It doesn't seem to care that you're there. It just flew back farther into the woods now, but I am tempted to just set myself up in this area and see if it comes back again. It seems like it's just going back and forth around in this area, kind of in a circle. I'm thinking that it might have a nest in this area somewhere. So I'm going to see if I can find a spot to set up, and hopefully it'll come back around this way. Such an awesome experience. I was hoping I was going to be able to skirt around the marsh completely, but I've come around the other side of it and it is just completely waterlogged, and I don't want to cross it and get completely soaked. So I'm just going to backtrack and go back the way I came. The red-shouldered hawk flew off. I don't hear it anymore calling, so I'm going to make my way back and then head over to the spot where I saw the coyote and the barred owl yesterday. So we'll see if there's any activity over in that section. It's a similar section of forest like this. There's pockets of wet, but it's mostly dry, and it's kind of got some mountain laurel, but then some open areas in the understory as well. So I'm hoping there'll be some activity. It's cool today, so I'm hoping that maybe some mammals might be active, even though it's getting close to the middle of the day now. So I just need to make my way back and see if I find anything on the way over there. Well, I was making my way back over to the woods, and I ran into a small little family group of house wrens that were on the side of the trail. And they just keep going back and forth from each side of the trail. I got some good close-up videos of them and some pictures, and then as they were chattering about, an ovenbird popped up to see what was going on, which I knew they were still in the area, but they are no longer singing, so it's hard to find. But this one popped up. I had some great looks of it. It's probably some of the best ovenbird pictures that I've taken. But the wrens kind of have hidden back down into the brush now, and I'm gonna kind of make my way out of here. I've been aggravating them for a little while now, so I'm gonna move on. I'm almost at my spot where I'm gonna sit and set up and see if anything else comes out. I never made it over to the woods where I saw the coyote or barred owl yesterday, because I'm just going to stick around here where there's a lot of bird activity in this shrubbery area. It's right in between a field, the marsh, there's some forest on that side, so it's a perfect spot for a lot of birds to congregate, and that's exactly what's happening. There's some tufted titmice, chickadees, vireos, so I'm just going to hang out here, take some pictures, and enjoy the rest of the day. So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button, the like button, comment. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.